Welcome to the SAS tutorial on descriptive statistics. Today we're going to be using the weights dataset. So the first thing you should do is copy it from the course folder to your class stat folder. The next thing you should do is run a libname statement to tell SAS that the weights dataset is in your class stat folder. You can find the code book for the birth weight dataset along with this tutorial on Canvas, and it looks like this. What we're going to focus on today for a scale variable is the age of mother in this dataset, and it's called age. For the categorical variable, we are going to be looking at smoking status during pregnancy, yes or no, and that variable is called smoke. So now we're ready to run descriptive statistics for our scale variable age using the proc means statement. So we start by typing proc means. Now we need to tell SAS what data set that we want to use. First we tell it where the data set is in the class stat folder, dot, and the name of the data set weights. Now we tell it what variable we want to run the means statement on. So var, you could also type it variable, variables, vars. SAS will make all of these suggestions for you. You can just double click that too, but any of those will work. And we want to look at age, semicolon, return, and we always end a SAS statement with run. So let's highlight that and see what we get. And now we're in our results tab, and we have the number of observations in the data set, the mean age, standard deviation, and minimum and maximum age. Well, say we want more statistics than this. Let's go back to our code page, and let's just copy this and paste it. And into our first line at the end, but before the semicolon, we can add all of the different options. So say we want the mean, median, mode, minimum value, maximum value, standard deviation, range, and interquartile range. All of these things are available in this little pop-up menu. So you can single click on it for a description. You can double click on it to add it to your statement. So let's go through and add all of the statistics that we want. So now that we've specified all our options, including nmiss, that's the number of missing values for the variable age in this case, let's highlight it and run. Now we're in our results tab, and we can see all of the statistics that we requested. Let's say we want even more statistics for a scale level variable than we got with our proc mean statement. Specifically, we want to know if our variable is normally distributed. The command we can use to find that out is proc univariate. And then we'll say data equals class stat dot weights. And now we should have a bunch of options here, and we want normal, so we can type it or click on it. And then we'll request plot. This will give us a distributional and a box plot. And then we will say the var we want to run the test on is age. And we will also request a histogram because that is an appropriate graphic for a scale variable, and we'll run. So let's look at our output here. We have all our regular statistics, interquartile range, and our tests for normality in this table. So if our data set has less than 2,000 observations, we'll interpret the Shapiro-Wilk test. If it has more, we'll interpret the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. And the way we would interpret either test is by looking at the p-value. And if our p-value is less than alpha, we would reject the hypothesis that the data are normally distributed. So here we have a p-value less than our alpha value of 0.05. And so we would say our data are not normally distributed. A couple of other neat things here in proc univariate is the quantiles, so we can see the number at the different percentages. and the extreme observations. We can see the lowest and the highest values in the data set. Then we scroll down for plots. So here's a distribution and probability plot for age. We can see the distribution of age here by the number of people in the data set, so by count. We also have this very nice box plot. We can keep scrolling down, and here's our histogram. And notice that percent is on the y-axis. We're looking at the percentage distribution in the data set instead of the count distribution in the data set. So now let's move on to descriptive statistics for categorical variables, so for ordinal or nominal variables. This is going to be the Proc freq statement. So freq is frequency. And then of course our data. And now instead of var, for whatever reason SAS wants us to write table or tables here to specify the variable we want the frequency for. And like I said earlier, we're going to be looking at the frequency of smoking status during pregnancy. So that variable is called smoke. Semicolon and run. Highlight, run. And now we have our frequency table. We have the number in each category, smoking, no or yes, as well as the percentages. If we would also like a bar chart for the variable smoke, we use the exact same code, except we now specify after smoke that we want a bar chart. And we start with a backslash, and then plots equals freq plot, and then in parentheses, type bar, that's our bar chart, and then scale, instead of frequencies, we want percent. We want to see the distribution proportionally. So highlight it and click run. And you will get a very nice box plot showing the percentage distribution of non-smokers and smokers. If you want to cross-tabulate two or more categorical variables, you can also use the Proc freq statement and just add something to it. So let's say I want to look at smoking status by categories of low birth weight. And so I look back at my low birth weight code book and I see the variable for low birth weight is called low, and then there's two categories. So back in SAS, what I do is I add an asterisk after smoke. So smoke times low. I want to look at smoking frequency by low birth weight. And that's actually all I have to do. And now I have my table of smoking by low birth weight here. And on the left, it tells me what these rows are. So these are the raw frequencies, the percentages in total, the row percentages, so the percentage of each row, and finally the column percentages, so the percentage in each column. Now there's one more thing that is helpful to know, which is how to show missing observations. So here I add a slash and then I just type missing. And so this will show me missing values along with the non-missing values. So I didn't have any missing values here, but if I did, I would see them as a separate category. If I wanted to make a bar chart of low birth weight by smoking status, the easiest thing to do would be to go over to Tasks and Utilities, expand Tasks, expand Graph, double click on Bar Chart. And now make sure that you have class dat as your library and weights as your data set. And then here, we're going to have smoke because we want to see low birth weight for smokers and non-smokers. And here we will have low birth weight. And now we have some display options, and I think it's always good to see percent instead of frequency. You can actually mess around with a bunch of other things. There's titles, footnotes, graph size, but for now we're just going to click run. And there we have a really nice bar chart. If I want to look at a scale variable by categories of an ordinal or nominal variable, for For example, if I want to see the age of mother by race, I can use a class statement or a by statement. First, we'll go over the use of the class statement. So I start by a proc mean statement again, just like before, because what I want to know about is a scale variable. Then I add a class statement. So class is the categorical variable that you want to break down your scale variable by. In this case, it is race. And then I will add my scale variable, which is age, and finally run. Now I have my descriptive statistics for age broken down into categories by race. So I can see there are slightly different mean ages by racial or ethnic group. The by statement can also be used to group a scale variable by a categorical variable. However, we have to sort the data first by that categorical variable. And we do that by a command called proc sort. Then of course we'll tell SAS what our data is. And then we're going to sort by, in this case, race is our categorical variable, and run. And so we would be able to scroll over to race and we can see that it is sorted in ascending order. So 1, 2, then 3. Let's go back to our code tab. Now that we've sorted the data, we can use the by statement in the proc mean statement. So again, our regular proc mean statement, and we'll say by race, and then our variable that we want to sort by race is age, and then run. And now you can see a little more clearly, we have 3 separate tables instead of the single table we had with the class statement. But we can see we have descriptive statistics for age for each of those racial or ethnic categories. Now if I'd like to create a graphic such as a box plot for age by race, I could go over to the Tasks and Utilities menu, click on Tasks, click on Graph, double click on Box Plot. Make sure that here we have class stat, dataset weights, our analysis variable, this is our scale variable, that's age, and then our category variable is our categorical variable race, and we could mess around with the appearance, but for now we're just going to click run, and you can see we get 3 very nice box plots of age for each category of race.